Yes.
Mrs. Hoyt?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
You all met here.
Here. Right.
Oh, you're right.
Yes, we are
Present.
here. Okay, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 15th, 2025, January 22nd, 2025, and February 19th, 2025 meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussions? Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoyt?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes. Do we do it right?
Well, yes, that's I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Mrs. Hoyt?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Okay, next we have our middle school student showcase, and I'm going to pass it over to Mrs. Hoy to introduce.
Hi. I can't see any of you. I feel like I should stand up and stand up comedy this. I'm so excited to see some middle school students and to hear about their accomplishments. When I was talking with Mrs. DeShenza earlier, the thing that I loved when she was explaining this showcase today was how we combine SEL, right, social emotional learning, with leadership skills in order to make us, to give our middle school students the opportunity to show employability skills, and the way that we use academics and rigor and SEL in a way that will help prepare you for your future employment and your future success. And so I'm so excited that we get to showcase both our programs and some star students. That's it.
Thank you. At CFMS, we work to empower our students, facilitating environments in which students take responsibility for their own learning. Successful middle schools exhibit essential attributes through a series of characteristics that are grouped in 3 overarching categories. Today, we'll be sharing a way in which we focus on, under the curriculum instruction assessments category, that every student's personal development is guided by an adult advocate, leadership and organization because our teams of teachers demonstrate collaboration, and the culture and community because health, wellness, social emotional competence, and employability skills are supported in curriculum and school-wide programs. PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Intervention Supports, and we use this at CFMS. We have about 230 students in grades 7 through 8, and even last year, our performance index academically put us at 112, which only 6 other districts in this state received anything over 100. And US News Report recently ranked the middle school number 2 in the state. Over 90% of our students are involved in clubs, music, and athletics. So you can see that they're going into, we really focus on the well-rounded student. And that comes from having all students having a teacher advocate during an advisory period, and each of our students have a learner profile really describing who they are, what their interests are, and their strengths. We've talked before about our SEL components in advisory, and a lot of times we talk about it being called SEL, or our 7 Mindsets program, but really it is the workforce readiness skills of recognizing emotions, active listening, perspective taking, empathizing with others, problem solving, conflict management, and how to effectively collaborate. But the other part of that, the workforce readiness skills are courtesy, how students can be respectful to each other in class when they're in teams collaborating, responsibility, how students need to bring required materials, professionalism, how students need to follow class expectations and group expectations, and flexibility in organization, how students can be prepared for deadlines in order to complete projects within the parameters while self-monitoring their own growth. And a lot of this comes from lots of evidence, but really in a youth workforce article from 2020, it says the gap between social and emotional skills needed and the current capacity of employees in the workforce as noted by employers demonstrates the importance of aligning the social and emotional skills young people develop pre-K through 12 in schools that extend learning programs through explicit embedded SEL programs and practices for employability skills needed in the workplace. Keeping that as a foundation of why we do what we do, we have the PBIS, and today I have two wonderful teachers here to explain what we do and how it works. And a lot of it does come from explicit instruction, and that comes in our advisory time, and then there's a lot of integrated practice throughout the academic content or other middle school opportunities. So Mr. Johnson, our 7th grade teacher, will talk about SOAR, and then Mrs. Aronovich, our 8th grade team leader, will talk about the rewards from SOAR.
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight?
Hi, thank you for being here.
So SOAR, we came up with this not this year, but last year. And SOAR means to achieve success. We believe in organization, having a positive attitude, and showing responsibility. And those are the pillars underneath each one of those. We want to make sure they have a planner filled out daily. We want to make sure that their materials are organized, and that they're prioritizing using that planner. So if we have a test tomorrow, why are we working on maybe a project that's not due for 2 weeks? So working on those skills of prioritizing our work, putting the most important things first. As attitude, we want to make sure we're showing respect and kindness. We persevere through challenges, and that we're able to cooperate and demonstrate teamwork. We believe a lot in teamwork. Through our advisory periods, we do a lot of teamwork activities, like problem solving, where they'll work together to solve a logic puzzle, or we do a lot of our interdisciplinary work during that time as well, so they're working in their teams. We believe in that a lot as our middle school philosophy. Responsibility, we want to make sure they're prepared on time with a charged Chromebook, their homework's completed, and all their materials are turned in on time. And they monitor their grades using Infant Canvas, and they are an engaged learner and communicator. So we have these, and we started this 2 years ago as well. They're SOAR cards. Each student gets a SOAR card, and I'll show those on the next slide. And what they are, we have them attach them to their planner so they're in a convenient place. And when students are demonstrating those skills on the previous slide, teachers walk around and they're able to sign the card. And it's a good motivator. We want to make sure that they're getting their card signed. We're looking for those positive behaviors demonstrated in the class, in the lunchroom, in the hallways, and anybody in our building can sign those cards. So the cards look like this right here. So we have the organization ones on the left, the March one. We changed the theme of it every month. So March was organization. The one coming up next month in April is going to be attitude, and then we have the responsibility one in February. And they change in sequential, like in alphabetical order, or how SOAR is spelled each month. And those are the up in the upper left-hand corner are the items that we look for organization. And then SOAR Essentials is in the bottom left there. That's where you can sign if you're seeing any of those main goals or main things that we're looking for throughout the periods, the class periods. And then as advisory achievements, that's where we sign for the missing assignments, where we sign for make sure their planners are filled in, or when we're seeing like great teamwork in our advisory periods. So each student gets one of those. If they're able to get 10 signatures, they're able to participate in our monthly reward days that we have during our advisory period. And I'd like to pass it off to Mrs. Aronovich to talk about reward days.
Thank you. So the kids really enjoy reward days, as you can imagine, and we're recognizing them for doing things. We're catching them being good.
Yeah.
We are also using that advisory time in a really structured way to make sure that if we have the focus that their Chromebook is charged, which sounds basic to most of us, but for 7th and 8th graders, that's pretty important. We make sure that we check it a certain day of the week, usually Mondays, just so that we're consistent with them as well. And when they reach their goal, which most of them do, they get to choose all kinds of activities. It could be basketball, crafts, board games, walk and talk. I can't wait to do pickleball and tennis. They go to Tiger Perk sometimes, and they get to choose it, and for them, it's a really nice opportunity to be in smaller groups with some of their friends. And like we said, it's only once a month, and it's for half of a block advisory, so they still get that work time and then a little bit of extra break. They also do some service projects with this, and I am also excited to be here to talk about some of the benefits, and you're gonna get to meet 2 of our students in a minute that are just absolute role models for this. The kids, they always feel motivated. A lot of them now are very excited. We had our Harvest for Hunger food drive, and they could get signatures for that because it shows leadership to remember, to bring in the items, and of course, service to others, helping others. So a lot of them were very anticipating, like, please, please, can I have some more? Because they like to, even if they meet their 10 goal, they like to get more. So they're motivated. They have a sense of belonging. They're engaged. They're connecting with staff members, which I think if any of you have a middle schooler, you know that's so important to keep the adult connections because it's an age where sometimes they start to back off a little bit from adults. So it's a really nice connector. And obviously happier, involved students, lots of academic success. They also can have a choice for the reward day to be in a quiet room and to get extra support sometimes if they want that. So, and family connections, because our advisory classes, they really have become pretty close. It's a really nice group. And there are 2 students here that have a lot of SOAR card signatures. I am really excited to be able to introduce these 2. I have both of them in class, and I've worked a lot with them, and I got to take them to the Ohio Middle Level Association Breakfast of Champions. So kids from all over Northeastern Ohio were there, and these 2 very special students here are photographed with the group that won an award for character. So I'm really proud of that. These are a lot of the things that we try to focus on with the SOAR cards. It's not just about your academics, although these 2 blow that out of the water too. They are phenomenal. And so I would like to introduce first our 7th grade nominee for Outstanding Character, who was chosen by the Ohio Middle Level Association and our school. And this is Dominic Giordano. And you want to come up for a minute? Dominic is outstanding. And these are some photos that he took. So not only is he an amazing photographer, he's an amazing student, and I will read for you his nomination letter. So he demonstrates strength of character in the way that he treats his peers with kindness and respect. He's a hardworking student athlete who gives 100% in classroom and on the athletic mat. He's an excellent sportsman and teacher on the wrestling team. He always competes in the best of his ability and shows respect for teammates, opponents, coaches, and officials. Dom puts forth effort in everything he does. He's a creative problem solver and a role model for his peers, participating in class, supporting others, and keeping a positive attitude as a photojournalist. Dom thrives. He knows how to plan and capture extraordinary photographs. Further, his communication skills and ability to follow through are unmatched. Dominic earns high marks and has been a student of the month. The staff and students are grateful for his eagerness to learn and commitment to a positive school culture. So thank you so much for everything you do. And I'm glad that you get to meet him and know him when.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you, Dom. And so our next nominee is Audrey Bricker. And can somebody click that link? I don't know if I can. So Audrey Bricker is our 8th grade nominee, also an outstanding student, and we want to show you one thing, just one of the many videos she's made this year. I want to congratulate her and read to you her nomination letter. She demonstrates strength of character in the way that she treats her peers with kindness. She's respected for her integrity, always choosing to do what's right, even when no one is watching. So Audrey is one of the most creative videographers that CFMS has ever seen. She takes on tough projects and always produces high-quality work, even when working under strict deadlines. Audrey's a very bright and talented young problem solver. She's creative in her approach and always willing to try new things. She works well independently and as part of a team. Audrey will be a great engineer someday if she chooses that path. Audrey's attention to detail is remarkable in both her reading and writing skills. She also articulates herself with great poise. Audrey works diligently on every assignment and project. She's helpful to all. She also was a Student of the Month and Tiger Trailblazer. You'll never find a day that Audrey is not wearing her big smile. She is truly respected by staff and peers alike and is admired for her extra dedication in world language. I can't even tell you. This is one of her many videos that she made, and she produces commercials basically for advisory time for the whole school.
Hi, CFMS. Thank you for your help in supporting our holiday fundraiser to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society that is dedicated to curing lymphoma, melanoma, and other blood cancers. We are the world's largest nonprofit health organization dedicated to funding cancer research and providing education and services to patients. Each year, we participate in a No Shave November with activities throughout the month, and all the funds that we collect go directly to the cause. And Hire Guy is our last activity, and it starts today. You will get a chance to see all the contestants that have grown out their weird beard, throughout the month of November. If you like theirs the best, then vote for them. But you can only vote if you have some type of money. It can be a penny, it can be $100, whatever you have. But your teachers are going to be getting a bag, and it's got small envelopes and directions inside. So on Friday during advisory, when you see the teacher that you want to vote for, please make sure that in the envelope you put your name, the teacher's name that you're voting for, and the money inside. We'll count them up at the end of the day so you can see who's in the lead. We'll make sure to give you a leaderboard at the end of the day so you know on Monday you can get one more chance to vote. So if you really want to pie Mr. Brown and he's winning with $5, maybe bring 10 on Monday and you can throw a pie at our assembly. We'll do the same thing on Monday and collect that, and we'll let you know who won and who will actually be throwing the pie. On Tuesday, we'll have an adjusted schedule, and advisory will be at the end of the day in the gymnasium. All the contestants will be set up, and all of the pies will be ready to go, and we will throw them there, and also have a live stream, so anybody at home who wants to watch can do so as well. So again, thank you for participating in this event. Please make sure that if you vote for the teacher who has the best weird beard, please make sure you do so with any money that you have on you. And again, the more money you bring, the more money and the more chance you have to grow the pie. Have a great one.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to OHEU. This is the real beer that goes all year long. We're looking at pie, food, dessert, as much as possible. So, donate for me, the real beer, that has big beers out there. Hey guys, it's Mr. Kimball here. You know who beer's got the best one right here. That's all you need to know. I'm the best guy that you want to buy. Now, I want to take a few minutes to share with you some information about my beer, since it's been an important decision. First of all, I was playing guest school with my son this weekend, and he said, "Dad, does your person have a beard?" And I said, "My beard has a person." My beard has a person. Did not say it. This is a true story. Last weekend, I was at the zoo with my family, and as I walked in, the zookeepers were freaking out because everyone was yelling, "The bearded dragon is loose." Everybody calmed down and talked about me. That was my nickname in high school. And here's another fun fact. My beard is actually the stunt double for Paddington in the movie. So, CFMS, when you go to vote, you need to put your money where your mouth is, where my mouth is, where my beard is. Hey everybody, my whiskers grew faster than ever this year. I couldn't believe it, but I noticed they started to slow down a little bit. Mr. Brown fosters cats. And then wait, the whipped cream will be in my face all the way through Thanksgiving. It'll be delicious.
Okay.
Alright guys, this is Mr. Hoynicki. I'm new to the district, so this is your chance to be the first person to pie me. I've gotten pied before, but never from chagrin. I'll tell you right now, this mustache could be a handlebar by the time this rolls around, and nothing hits like a handlebar mustache and a pie. So I'm your guy. I think that this year I'm a shoo-in. You know, after all, the white beard is a sign of wisdom. Look around the building, Mr. Lardell, Mr. Canton, white beards, sign of wisdom.
Oh my God.
And Mr. Patterson, he's got youth on his side, but he's been working since August, and he's still hoping that this is the year that he's actually going to be able to have a full beard.
Oh.
He's, you know, he's got a little bit going down here, a little thin, just like up top.
Oh,
And then you got Mr. Brown, looking a little scruffy like Shaggy from Scooby Doo.
oh gosh.
And Mr. Kimmel. Rumor has it that Kimmel's beard has been fabricated in the cremation lab. Charlie Stewart, he says he's gonna put in $40. Charlie, I think that $40 is too much to pay to throw that pie over my head. I've been watching you throw the football practice.
Oh.
All these other male teachers around this building have nothing on this beard here. Mr. Toombs, Mr. Bowl, Kimball have nothing on this. Mr. Radcliffe, come on, look at this thing. Also, if you're gonna throw a pie at me, everybody misses every year. That's why you should come raise money and get an opportunity to throw pie at my kids.
Oh.
Hey guys, Mr. Radcliffe here. I'm throwing my beard in the ring for the Pie Your Guy No Shave November. You know who the clear winner is. It's me. Look around the town. These guys are amateurs. This is the real beard in the school. I'm not going to name names, but a lot of people came up to me and asked who could they could throw the pie in the face. Emily, Audrey, Miles. Guys, get your money in.
Oh my gosh.
Come to play. I'll be ready for you.
Oh my gosh, who
Wow.
won?
Yeah, who won?
And did the pie hit
It's
you?
on the record now.
Oh, man.
Sometimes it just gets a little bit over it. Yeah.
We-
We raised a lot of money, and again, near $1,000 to give to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, but the students really like it. A lot of teachers get involved, and Audrey made that video for the students. To see
amazing.
and get them excited to do something and have an assembly that day. So we're really proud of our PBIS at the school. We're very proud of our students and Audrey and Dom and our wonderful teachers too. So any questions or anything for any of the teachers or for Audrey and Dominic?
I was wondering who wrote the student nominations for the breakfast?
We talk in our teams, and once we kind of come up with some of the students that we think are going to be the students, teachers then start to submit reasons why. Like, for example, you know, the wrestling coach might say, this is what I've seen on the wrestling mat, and then if a music teacher can't attend the meeting and they saw something, they'll let us know, so we start to combine it and put it together. And then myself, I'm part of the Association for Ohio Middle Level, and so then we send that, and then the head person there, Michelle Kuza, collects them and sends them out and invites them to a wonderful breakfast that, like Kathleen said, she got to take them to this year.
I just wanted to add that I love that y'all introduce this as workforce readiness connected to these skills. I'm in executive leadership development, and I'm telling you that these 7 mindsets and skills are exactly what we're looking for when we're hiring our caregivers, when we're promoting leaders, and even when we're saying, who's gonna, do leadership development around the world. These skills are what they're looking for. It doesn't matter if you're the best neuroscientist in the world. If you don't have character, if you're not able to engage in conflict management and be emotionally present for your team or your patients, none of that matters. So I really love this for y'all because you're gonna be so incredibly set for, the workplace, for whatever you wanna do when you leave here. So thank you all for doing this.
Yeah, I'm just curious on that note. Mrs. Aronovich mentioned a possible engineering future for Audrey. Do either of you have sort of an idea of what you maybe want to go into or not yet? That's okay. How about you, Dom?
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Great.
That would be
That's
incredible.
incredible.
Well, thank you so much for coming tonight and sharing your accomplishments with us. Clearly, your students and your principal are really proud of you, and we are too. So thank you for coming and being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Guys.
Thank you.
Everyone is most welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you would like. But if you have other demands on your time, we'll give you a couple minutes to make an exit if you choose.
Congratulations.
Thank you all.
All right, Ashley, you ready?
It was well done.
Cute.
Sure.
I'll do this just from my brain. Okay, so last month we started doing the financial report highlights at the top of the meeting during this portion. So what I'm showing you now, again, is just the highlights, not the actual reports. All of this is just kind of the high level, most important stuff that I pulled out of those reports. So those have been attached to the agenda, and you've been able to review them. They're also attached in the public portion. So if anybody really wants to read those, they're on there. Okay. So first up is always the general fund summary. I've been keeping all of the months in here. I'm gonna have to start cutting that off probably next month. I'm not gonna have room on my slide for all of them anymore. But what we're looking at is right here, February. We brought in 3.4 million. We spent just over 3 million, which was a surplus for the month of $363,000, and an ending cash balance of 19.3. This again is just general fund. So later on, and during these reports, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the other funds. So just keep in mind, this is the next few slides are just general fund. So looking at our revenue, this is a little bit misleading. So this is comparing the orange is the current year. This is total revenue through February compared to prior years. This little dip here is a little bit misleading because of the timing of our taxes. We used to get larger advances in February and then smaller settlements in March. Now we're getting smaller advances in February and larger settlements in March.
Okay.
So, did somebody?
Oh, I said okay, because I was like,
okay.
because I'm looking ahead and I'm like really wondering about the
Yeah,
next slide. So
yeah, I
that
know.
really helps.
It, yeah, and I have already put in, we received our settlements last Friday, so those have already been entered in the system. I just ran a quick report to see what it would look like today, just so that I was 100% positive that what I'm telling you tonight is the truth, and it is. Okay, so this is the month to month, so you can see here our revenue for February was smaller than last year, and then that was smaller than the year before, which is why the overall looked like that. You can see last year in March, this shot up, which made up the difference from here to here. This year, March is gonna be up here, which is gonna make up the difference between these two. So our taxes are on track, we're okay, we have collected them. It's just a timing issue.
And so this change it started 3 years ago?
Last year, it started where we got the smaller advances. And, you know, part of it was some of the stuff that happened last year, if you remember, last November, where the property values increased significantly, so then there were a lot of delinquencies, some things that weren't coming through. This year, typically on our advances, when the county, when Cuyahoga specifically collects, they give us 90% of what they've collected to that point as an advance.
Okay.
This year, our first advance was only 60% of what they had collected.
Okay.
So I'm not sure as to the reasons, but it all evens out. Okay. Moving on to expenditures. Again, orange is current year compared to the prior years. This is pretty typical of what I think we all know happens. Expenditures just continue to increase. This dip here is where we cut $1 million out. So I like to keep this back this far just so that we can see, you know, the difference from 2020 to 2025, from 21.4 million to 24.1, when you're talking over a 5-year period, is, you know, that's much more palatable than if you're just looking here and you just saw the 18. So I like to, you know, really give the whole picture. This again is month to month. February is right here, pretty stable across the last several months. So this is our cash balance. I have been saying this year that we're going to start deficit spending so that this orange cash balance line will be lower than the FY24. But this big jump here from this darker black line, which is 24, to the current year is because of that difference in the taxes. So it will go back up. The difference isn't going to be that significant. It is probably, you know, when we get to this year end, we are going to be a little bit below what we saw as a year end balance last year, but the difference from this year is because of that timing on the taxes. Okay. Self-insurance fund, not too much to say on this report. At this point, we're holding pretty steady, which is exactly what we want to see there. We're at about 2.3, almost 2.4 million in that fund. Okay. This is a summary of all of our funds. So up until now, from here back, these are all general fund, and then I did move on to the self-insurance fund, but that all of those general funds, we're just talking about this first line here. Self-insurance fund is down here, and then all of these other lines here are additional funds that we have. Most of our activity, you can see, is in the general fund, and that's where we do our 5-year forecast, which we're required by the state to do. That's just general fund. But there is activity in all these other funds. So we like to present these and show what's happening just so that everybody sees the whole picture. Deposits and investments, this is where our money is at the end of the month. Just over $28 million in banks. Most of our money still we hold in Star Ohio. It's pretty liquid there. Transfer it into these other accounts here for operations. This 10.9, almost 11 million here just sits in this account, and then these are the longer term investments with Red Tree. And all of the detail is in the actual report if you are interested. So, financial spotlight for this month. I've gotten some questions about what's happening at the federal level. Some people kind of concerned about what happens if all of our federal grants go away. Right now, that's not happening. But if it did, what's going to happen? People are asking me what's going to happen at the federal level. Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen. What I can tell you is how it would affect us. So what you're looking at right here is a summary of our federal allocation for this year. So that asterisk is there because if you're looking at our overall revenue and expenditures in the federal grants, it includes the money that St. Joan of Arc gets. We are required by law to manage their federal funds for them. So their money comes to us, they do requisitions on our requisition system, our purchase process, we cut the checks and we do all of that work for them. The amounts here, I have excluded their amounts just so that we're talking about our money for our students. So these, that's a weird word. These are the current allocations for this fiscal year. So we're just over $500,000. So going back to here, these federal funds are right down here. And so these are the ones that I point out often from month to month that these are negative numbers because we spend the money first, then we request for reimbursement and we get the money. But this is what we're talking about, is just these few funds down here. So our allocation this year is just over $500,000. To put that in perspective, I took that $517,000 and compared it to our overall expenditures in all funds last year. So when you take that 500,000 compared to the 49 million that we spent over all funds, one more thing I want to point out on that number just for clarification. I pulled this self-insurance amount out because that's $4 million that is already, it's not an expenditure for us, so I didn't want to skew this. It would have looked even smaller, but I pulled that out. So this is the 1.05% is the 517, $517,000 federal money for this year compared to last year's total. I didn't want to compare it to this year because we're only, through February, almost through March. So I wanted a full year to give you kind of a picture of how much that is to us and what that does. Now, I'm not saying that's not important. I'm not saying we don't rely on it. We absolutely rely on it. When we're planning and when we're doing our forecast, I know that those $500,000 are going to come into those other funds, so I don't need to allocate those in the general fund. It's important, we need it, we use it, we absolutely rely on it. But, to give you a picture of what that means to us, if that burden gets shifted, and because that's what's gonna happen, if our federal grants or if our state money went away. I kind of had the same message last month when I was talking state money, now I'm just talking federal.
Right.
The same message is the burden just gets shifted. It gets shifted from, instead of, it coming from federal, it's gonna come from our local percentage. And then what happens, we've seen it with the state a few times when they've, cut funding for, tangible personal property tax reimbursements that they cut 10 years ago or so. Everybody immediately had to find, replacements for those sources. The good thing about being in a school where we're not as reliant on those sources of funding is we weather the storm a little bit better. It's a little bit easier for us to weather the storm than a district where maybe it looks the exact opposite. Then, maybe the blue was 90% and the orange on this chart would have been 10 for some schools. So does it matter? Absolutely. We need it. We want it. We use it, but we can weather the storm if we have to. The other concern that I think people have when we're talking about the federal dollars is this IDEA B money. So people are concerned that if that federal money goes away, are we going to continue to service, my child's IEP or my kid's 504? Are we still going to be able to provide those services? So the next graph I'm going to talk about takes this 390,000 plus this 73, which is the IDEA money. So that's special education money compared to our total special education spend last year. Again, I wanted to use a full year. That's almost 8%. So it's less than 10% of our special education money. Again, these are services that, we're not going to stop providing. It's a little bit harder, and it's a burden that certainly would be shifted to our taxpayers, but I think we would still have to provide and would still want to provide all these services for our students. So just try to put it in perspective. I can't tell anybody what's gonna happen. I don't know at the state level either. I know we're a month down that timeline from when I talked about that at the last board meeting. We're still waiting for that budget to get through the House and Senate. And again, I can't tell you what's gonna happen. I know that we will continue to provide the level of service that our community expects. And we'll see. I'll let you know as soon as I
Thank
know,
you.
I promise.
Thank you for that perspective, that's useful.
It's very helpful.
Any questions? Okay. All right, well, that's all I have on that.
Okay. Moving on to superintendent's recommendations. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
I didn't look at the, oh, thanks. I didn't have anybody sign up ahead of time.
Oh, how did I?
It's the blue one. No, okay. No.
Okay, item 5.01, I move to approve an overnight trip to Washington DC for the Sugar Falls Middle School on November 5th, 2025 through November 7th, 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So
That's
just
a
one
change.
note on this one would be, note the date changes. We've been talking about this for quite some time. Where the curriculum falls would be in the fall, so it's a more relevant time for our students to go. Plus, May is very challenging with getting chaperones, with even just scheduling and lots of things happening in May where some students weren't able to go because of conflicts. We think that the fall timing will probably be better for everyone, and we want to get started early so that we're prepared when November comes around next year.
Can you take the roll?
Okay. Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Item 5.02, I move to approve an overnight trip for the high school football team to Mount Union University in July as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll just share, two things that you'll notice tonight. Number one, we're reorganizing the agendas so that topics should flow. So all the overnight trips are in a row. I won't talk about them unless you have questions, but overnight trips by board policy are required to be approved.
Right.
So that's why you're seeing them on the agenda.
Okay. Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes. Item 5.03, I make a motion to approve an overnight school trip for the high school volleyball team to Miami University in July. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item 5.04, I make a motion to approve the presented certified staff resignations for the purpose of retirements. Do you want to talk about these, Jennifer?
Not really, but.
Okay, I know it's sad,
Well-
I know, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
these are hard. Tracy Guggenheim has been the speech language pathologist in our district for 24 years.
Wow.
She's currently at the intermediate school. I can tell you that when you walk in her room, you'll be greeted with a smile. She's very passionate for all of our students, and I know that she does a lot, not only in the classroom, but in the community for our kids. So those will be big shoes to fill next year. The next one is Todd Toombs. You can see everything he does for the district. He has been with us for 30 years, and I will tell you specifically this fall I had a problem come up after school, and Todd was in his office and he jumped up and said, "How can I help? What do you need me to do?" He's always ready to give a hand to anyone. I've also seen him in action with athletes and how he coaches and how he cares for each student, and he knows his students. And I think that's what makes Todd special for Chagrin Falls Middle School. But all of these positions that he holds, we're gonna see in a little while as resignations. And I'll explain that when we get to it. Anne is the next one. She's an MTSS teacher at the intermediate school. She's been there for 22 years. I had the opportunity to take her on one of the luncheons that we do for the district, and she again has a very big Chagrin heart, very passionate about our students, and has done some amazing things to help our kids grow and thrive. And last but not least is Shelley. She's 26 years. I know she's mostly been in kindergarten, but has had some other grade levels that she served. I was just in her classroom to read a book, and it was a lot of fun. She, again, very passionate. She knows her kids. She knows her trade as an educator, and she will be greatly missed.
Here, here.
Okay, Ashley, could you take the roll?
Actually, I didn't get a second on that one. If I could
Oh,
get a
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay. Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bortner?
Yes.
Item 5.05, I make a motion to approve the presented certified substitute teachers for the 2024-2025 school year contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bortner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Item 5.06, I make a motion to approve the certified staff supplemental payments as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bortner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes. Item 5.07, I make a motion to approve the presented unpaid leave of certified staff per Ohio Revised Code 3319.13. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bortner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item 5.08, I move to approve the presented classified staff resignations. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Joe has done great service for our district, a smiling face for when the kids get on the bus, and cares deeply about his trade, so he will be greatly missed.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bortner?
Yes.
Item 5.09, I move to approve the following classified staff contracts as presented, contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We all said we'd second. I'll,
Okay, now one. Who's left? Now one of you.
Any questions? Okay, Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bortner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
yes.
Item 5.10, I move to approve the presented classified staff for additional hours. Do I have a second?
Yes. I will second.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bortner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes. Item 5.11, I move to approve Resolution 25-011, the termination of employment of classified employee on probationary status. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So what I'll just mention here is that when we hire any classified employee, they're put on a probationary period. At the end of that probationary period, we make the decision to continue or to hire as a full-time under the union contract as a OPSI Chagrin Falls employee. Sometimes we need to end after the probationary period, and that's what this one is.
Ashley, take the roll.
Mr. Bortner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item 5.12, I make a motion to approve the presented resignations from athletic supplementals. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, don't panic.
I know, it's a lot, there's a lot going
Take a
on.
breath and let me tell you what's going on. So let's start with board policy. We need to make sure that when someone resigns from a position, because they're going to take a different position, that the board acts on that. It's not that we can just move people around because each position has a contract. So that's step one. We need to be intentional about those resignations and boards approving it. The second part is that we have board policy that says when I receive a resignation, I can accept it and it has to be acted on at the next board meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Thirdly, when you have a resignation, you have a vacancy that posts. So someone that might be changing positions, right, taking a different job within their certain sport, will then apply for that position and we'll hire them in that new contract. The perfect storm happened this meeting where the resignations all came in before the meeting, but the vacancy and the filling of vacancies did not happen. So there are many on this list that are shuffling around, taking some different positions that are opening. So next month, you'll see another list of people and the positions that they're going to take. And sometimes that's just because maybe you've been coaching middle school and now your students are in high school and you want to make that shift. Or maybe you're a middle school teacher and you've been coaching high school and now you want to coach middle school because we have an opening, because those are the students that you work with. So there can be lots of different reasons. I just don't want you to panic and think that our football team
That we've
is
lost our whole
having a
coaching
major
team.
overhaul, because it's not. They're just transitioning positions.
And these are all off-season sports right now.
Correct.
So,
So we just need to
Right.
get everything in place for them.
okay. Ashley, could you take the roll, please?
Yeah, Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Item 5.13, I move to approve the following Performing Arts Academy staff supplemental payments as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Item 5.14, I move to approve the following volunteer contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes. Item 5.15, I move to designate Retzel and Andress or their successors or assigns as legal counsel for the calendar year of 2025 on oh my goodness, this is where it all falls apart, on an as-needed basis by the board superintendent or treasurer. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So sometimes in January is when we do the big designation, if you will, of all of our firms that we work with. Occasionally throughout the year, you'll come across a situation where you might need to work with a certain attorney or a certain firm, given the nature of the problem at hand. In this situation, that's what's happening. We would like to work with this firm, giving their expertise in a certain area. So that's why you're designating an additional as needed legal counsel for this year.
Okay.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item 5.16, I move to approve the contract with the Village of South Russell for use of the South Russell Park Pavilion on May 30th, 2025 for the preschool end-of-year picnic. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
So just to clarify, you did vote on this before. This is just an update. We were given the old form where the deposit was $25 and it's actually $50.
It's
So
a
because even it's
big
only a
ask.
$25 difference,
Woo.
we need to approve the updated form.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Item 5.17, I move to approve the contract with House of Blues for the Siouxland Falls High School prom on May 9th, 2026 as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Sounds fun.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Item 5.18, I make a motion to approve resolution 25-012, authorizing the execution and delivery of a lot of different things. Energy, electric energy sales agreement, et cetera,
Sorry.
as presented.
Provider.
There you go. Good job. That works.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We're just part of the cooperative, and this is how we purchase, and the agreement is due to be updated and needs to be submitted by the end of the month. So that's why we're approving this now.
Gotcha.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes. Item 5.19, I move to approve the contract with Jumpstart Sport for community ed programming effective through August 1st, 2025 as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay, item 6.01, under treasurer's recommendations, I move to approve the then and now certificate as listed. Do I have a second?
No second.
Ashley, do you want to talk about this one at all?
I can. These are items where, because of the Ohio Revised Code, we have to have the invoice in place the purchase order in place prior to
To
the
the
purchase, or obligating the district for anything, which means that if the invoice date has a date that is prior to the PO date, which sometimes does happen because things fall through the cracks or things need to be done immediately. And the approval process on the purchase order does take a couple days. Sometimes these happen, so these are just items that, in order to not get a citation on those, this is the caveat in the law that says, if you do this, we won't slap your wrist.
Okay, could you please take the roll?
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Okay, item 6.02, I move to approve the 2025 special project grant application. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So this grant is through Cuyahoga County. And they are going to help us buy a very, very expensive dishwasher that will enable us to stop using the styrofoam trays. So we will have
Excellent.
trays, and a portion of the funds are going to purchase the trays and the utensils as well. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. And they're super excited about it. I talked to somebody because they wanted this returned by last week, and I called them to see if I could wait until the board meeting. And I spoke with somebody who was really excited about this. So it
Aw.
was-
Well,
yeah, it was
We're,
kind of
we're
cool.
happy for their
Yeah,
excitement.
they're,
The people at Cuyahoga Waste Management enjoy their jobs.
Yes,
That's good to
yes.
know.
It's like,
I'm
that's
happy
peak
for them.
adulting.
yeah, so it's very cool.
Okay, could you please take the roll?
Yes, Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Okay, item 6.03, the treasurer recommends, wait, do I say this or do you?
I can recommend it. I'm recommending your approval of the monthly financial reports that I presented the highlights earlier in the meeting, and the actual reports are attached to the agenda.
Do I need to make a motion?
You can just say so moved.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes. Okay, do we have any
Do
other
we have any,
business?
yeah, other public no.
Don't think so, and further public participation? Nope. Okay.
In that case, I move to enter into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code. It is harder than it looks, goodness gracious. Ohio Revised Code 121.22 for the sole purpose of the consideration of the following matters: to consider one or more as applicable of these, which is employment and compensation of a public employee or official.
I'll second.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay, our next meeting will take place on April 23rd, 2025, right here in the library at 7 PM. I move to adjourn. Do I have a?
Nope.
No, just
No,
kidding.
we're not adjourning. We're
Oh,
just
no,
not
sorry,
voting.
Executive, and then we adjourn. Just
Yes,
kidding.
but we're not voting after executive session, right? Don't we
Yeah,
say
we will
something
not
about
be
that?
taking
Not
any
take any
action
action.
Yeah.
after executive
Thank you.
session. Did you announce the next meeting?
Yes, we did.